All right, I have a perfect opportunity to show you guys how to clear a contaminant. I've got one in the front of the airbrush here. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you know I don't fully disassemble my airbrush. I just rinse it through. Got a whole video there about how to my cleanup procedure. But every now and then, I've had a contaminant in the paint, and it is stuck in the front here. And the symptom wasn't what normally happens where you get the constant flow of paint when you just got air on. What happened? I had just like almost like half power, so I couldn't get the full strength. It was still working. It was still shutting off when I shut the paint off, but there was a bit of a delay in the start, and it was inconsistent that way with the starting, and I could just tell, I could feel that there was contaminant in the front, and I can prove it to you now with when I take this off. See, the needle is not sticking out very far at all. I'm just going to take the back off here and show that's as far as it'll go. I'm not putting any really, just gently until it stops on its own, just enough. Now, when it's clear, that will go out double that length in the end there. So my first thing I have been doing is I just got the airbrush cleaner in there and just sprayed it through and kept doing it. And I switched to Windex with ammonia and use that as well. What I want to do is avoid really pulling the airbrush completely apart to try and get that contaminant, because it'd be just right in the nozzle in the end there. So my second step now, the first step was to just keep spraying it through. I'm going to set the airbrush now in a jar of the airbrush cleaner with the needle back, and just let it soak the head in as it is to try and soften it up. If it is lumpy paint, then the cleaner should soften it enough to be able to then spray it out. Most important thing is, though, I am not trying to force it out the front. I'm just going to let it soften and try and spray it out. So that is the first step. So I've got one of these mixing cups, and I've cut a little hole in the side so my airbrush will sit in there flat on the bench, and I'll just have a little bit of the airbrush cleaner in there first and let it soak like that. I've got the needle out, but the protective cap on, so the actual fluid nozzle itself behind here is protected. All right, so that's that first step, and that's how I had that soak. I'm going to let that soak for about 10 minutes, flat on the bench like so. Um, I very well might have to eventually pull this apart and get that out. One thing I'm definitely not going to do is trying to force that contaminant board out of the fluid nozzle. I'm going to try and get it out backwards, but um, like always, just trying to avoid pulling the airbrush completely apart every time. This is like the first time in forever that I've had this, so it's just one of those things, guys. All right, 10 minutes soaking, and let's see how it goes. The fluid nozzle is submerged for 10 minutes, and hopefully that softens up the contaminant in there and allow me just to literally just spray it out. Okay, so while that's soaking, I'll tell you my theory of what I think contaminant is. Um, this is how I store my colors in these little jars while I'm using them with these little white lids on them. Now, this morning when I went and pulled them all out, this one color didn't have the lid, and I was like, wasn't sure what happened there. I must have forgot to put it on or whatever. This is the one that's caused the issue. I think that it might have skinned up. So obviously I shook it all up before I used it, but I think it might have had a small skin on it. And then when I shook it up, it's just broken up into little pieces, and that's what's stuck in the airbrush. If that's the case, then the airbrush cleaner should soften enough up to get it out. And I obviously won't use this color anymore. I'll just mix up a brand new one of those. So fingers crossed that's it. All right, I got a couple more ideas if it doesn't spray out after being soaking for 10 minutes. My next step will be to remove the needle again, and we're going to use a little blow gun and gently put that over it's a wide enough end over the top of the fluid nozzle, and gently push some air and blow it out from the front backwards, hopefully. That's the next step. And then again, I'll re-rinse through and try and spray it out again. That's if that doesn't work the first time. If after all that and I buy the bullet and I have to pull it apart, I will try to I will get the fluid nozzle off on the end, and I will try to scoop it from the back, try and scoop it backwards, right? And I don't wanna try and force it forwards through the end opening because that will split it. So, what I've got to do that are these little, fine paper points I bought on Temu, I think. They're like dental things, they're made out of paper, really fine, and hopefully that is not gonna cause damage to the fluid nozzle itself, but hopefully I'll be able to scoop something out and pull it out. Well, I don't really wanna get to that point, but that's my last resort. Finish fastest, there we go. Okay, so that's been 10 minutes soaking. I'm going to remove the end cap off so I can see the needle coming through, reinsert the needle. I'll put it in through there so I can unscrew that easily and guide the needle through. Once we get it in the right spot, press the trigger down because that make sure that the hole's lined up and then gently push it all the way through. Okay, so just until it stops on its own. Let's see, it hasn't come out any further at this stage, but we will attach the side cups and spray some through and let's see what happens. The airbrush cleaner is the Createx airbrush cleaner. Okay, so I'll just spray it in the air now. What I actually also like to do is just roll the needle. So not putting any pressure forward, pull it back slightly and gently forward, but I'm rolling at the same time. So if you picture that bit of dry paint in there, if it is dry paint, hopefully, it's getting moved around when I roll it, or almost like sanding it, hopefully. So I'll continue with this and I'll let you know how it goes. So you can see it's starting to go further forward than it did before, and there's a lot of paint on the needle, so that shows me that it was the like dry paint contaminant causing it. So we're onto something. You can see there's a bit of overspray on the right hand side there. Sorry for the wobbly. I'm using a magnifying glass and trying to do a million things at once, but I'm making progress because that's definitely now coming out further than before. Again, being super gentle, guys. Oh, get it in focus. I'm not putting any pressure forward at all. It's just a gentle rock and roll. Or rock and roll, there you go. Okay, so I used a soft brush with the cleaner and cleaned the end. It's all nice and clean there. Um, it feels like it's spraying really well now, but when I pull the needle out and gently do it, it just feels not 100% right. I think it's 99% there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it 10 more minutes soak. I think I might have solved the problem. There's no more dirty paints coming out. Got enough in there now. Give it a little bit of a backwash. So that's staying really clean. So I think I'm on top of it now, but I'm just going to soak it one more time for 10 minutes. Just remember, guys, so needle out, the end cap back on to protect the fluid nozzle itself, and that is sitting there submerged right now. 10 more minutes, and let's see how we go. Okay, so that did the trick. That second time round, rinsed through, got some paint into it, and that's working brand new now. Really, it cost me about 30 minutes time. And that was including the time it took me to set up cameras and that to show you guys. I didn't need to go through that stage of pulling the head off and using the paper point tips. What I do want to clarify though, when I spoke about using the air blower, in hindsight, think I probably wouldn't have used the air blower while it was still attached to the airbrush. It could blow out a seal or something like that. So this is using air. I've done that before to get contaminants out of the nozzle. I've done that, but I've had the nozzle off. So that's a good tip to have, but only once you get to the stage where you have to pull the airbrush apart. I hope it's been helpful for you guys. Like the video, subscribe, save it just in case you might need this one day. So if you do, hopefully it helps you. So till next time, thank you. See ya.